Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Uriah, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, wa Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body a living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, right? All of the wicked spirits, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up. Reading, praying, fasting, being diligent, right? Taking notes, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake their hand, to wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, that actually sincerely reverence their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, right? Abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, making their body a living sacrifice for the Most High God. Right? This is going to be an in-depth breakdown on destroying Islam. Now, a lot of our people are destroyed in Islam. You know, not just, people that are in jail or people that are in the hood, but, that's one of the top religions in the whole entire earth. You understand? Right? Let's share my screen through the spirit. And give me a strong con. Right? If you can see my screen. Give me a strong con. If you can see my screen. And we're going to dive straight into it through the spirit. Right? And Salak, I'm going to turn it up. Give me 1 second. Can brothers hear me better? All right, give me a strong con if you can hear me. All right, give me a strong con if you can hear me. All right, most high willing, you can hear me. All right, we're going to dive straight into it through the spirit. I'm going to go to the mighty book of Deuteronomy. So you got a lot of false prophets, right, in the world. And it's in the last days we got to uncover to destroy all of these false ideologies and all of these false religions. The Most High never gave man religion. He never gave man all of these customs of this world that a lot of people dive into. Right? Let's dive into it. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. And I'm going to start at verse number 36. And it reads, "The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shall serve other gods, wood and stone." And that's exactly what our people do. Our people are on a high level of idolatry, witchcraft, and sorcery. We worship stones, Egyptology. We worship man. We worship pictures. We worship celebrities. Right? We worship doctrines. Right? We worship all of these false things in astrology. Right? We worship stone. Right? In Mecca. Right? The Kaaba stone. We're worshiping all of this wood of Christianity. We're worshiping everything but Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And we got to come out of that as a people. Now it's time to denounce all your wickedness and come back to the Most High. Look how deep Manasseh was in witchcraft. Look how deep a lot of you were in witchcraft. Yeah, a lot of people had posters on their wall as a kid. Little Bow Wow, whatever the case may be, or all of these rap groups. A lot of our people hold in high regard the people of this earth. They're nothing but idols. And the Most High is a jealous God. Now, let me get that real fast in the book of Nahum. It's the mighty book. And the Lord even told you in the law, don't even make mention of other gods, nor let them come out of your mouth. So you can't even be joking around, playing around, and be talking about false gods. The Most High is angry at that. The Most High is a jealous God. Right, we're going to dive straight into it. Right, this is the book of Nahum, chapter 1 and verse 2. "God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies." So the Lord said, look, he's not just a normal God, he's a jealous God. And we know that jealousy is the rage of man. Now, what does people do when they jealousy? They act upset. They overthrow tables. If the Lord comes back and you secretly have leaven in your heart of loving another God and making mention of them coming out of your mouth, and the Lord is going to destroy you. right? And I'm going to dive straight into it, right? Now, the question was, when was Islam founded, right? So 610 on our current website, the starts of Islam is marked in the year 610, following the first revelation, right, to the Prophet Muhammad. And we're going to dive into the Prophet Muhammad, right? We're going to dive into Ford Muhammad. We're going to dive into Elijah Muhammad, right? We're going to dive into the Islam, and we're going to cut this to shreds, right? There is no leg for Islam to stand on at all. They have no prophecies. They have no leaders. They all contradict, right, what they believe in. They have no source of miracles or understanding. They have no true and living God. Everything they do is recited off of the Bible and through man. There's nothing that Islam has that has any leg to stand on. It says first revelation to the Prophet Muhammad. And when did the Most High have to give a revelation to man? I thought the word was always here from the foundation of the earth. A man didn't have to get a revelation. The spirit of the Most High has always been on the earth. All right, let me get a quick precept. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse number 7. It says this: as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. So since the world began, you had holy prophets that have been on the earth, right, during the time of Adam. Who do you think the voice of the Lord was in a garden in the cool of the day that spoke to Adam? It wasn't literally the voice of the Most High God. Those were the prophets. And the prophets have been since the world began. So there was no revelation in 610 that had men come into the knowledge of what the Most High wanted man to do. But what the hell were you doing all of that other time? What was going on? Where was your God prior to 610? What were your prophets prior to then? Let's go to the mighty book of 1 John chapter 1 and verse 1. Right? It's 1 John chapter 1 and verse 1. It says, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard. Meaning what? A lot of brothers and sisters watching this live have been since the world began. Meaning they bear witness to Yahushua from the very beginning. Right? From the very time of Adam, from the very time of Noah, from the very time of Enoch, right? From the very time till you get all the way to Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You have men that have always bear witness and known Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It says, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled the word of life. For the life was manifested, and we have seen it. So you have to wait for an in-depth, long revelation by a man to give you the truth by the Most High, right? It says, and bear witness and shewed unto you that eternal life, which was the Father and was manifest to us. Check that out, right? Now it says 610, the following of the first revelation to the Prophet Muhammad at the age of 40. Muhammad and his followers spread the teaching of Islam throughout the Arabian Peninsula. So when you go into the history of this, you have to understand Muhammad was a known a demon, right? Muhammad was a warrior on the left-hand side. He invaded lands. He pillaged all of the people. He raped and overthrew towns and villages. He waged wars, and he was a so-called white man. And through all of this history, we're going to dive in and prove that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? Can brothers hear me? Give me a strong con. The brothers can hear me. I see on the comment board it's saying brothers can't hear, it's low. Right? Give me a strong con if you can hear me. Moving forward through the spirit. Okay, con. Right? Let's dive into it. So the understanding of Islam, it says universal faith. Right? Universal means for all. So Islam, right, is a culmination of the universal message of God taught by all his prophets. Muslims believe that a prophet was chosen for every nation at some point. Where is that in the Bible? Where is that in the Bible that the Most High chose a prophet for every Pacific nation? That's not in the Bible. The Most High has chosen the prophets and raised up prophets out of the nation of Israel. There were no other prophets outside the nation of Israel that the Most High has chosen to teach Israel, direct Israel, and show Israel the words of the Most High. Now, you did have prophets like Balaam, right? Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, right? You do have heathens to bring a message, but it's different from a message than an overall prophecy and an overall teaching, right? Jeremiah was a prophet. The Lord raised up Jeremiah, you understand, in the land of Benjamin. The Lord raised up Ezekiel, right? The Lord raised up Daniel, right, in the Babylonian captivity. So he was an old man to the first year of Cyrus. So the Most High, he'll raise up these men in captivity. It says out of every nation at some point in their history, right, and joining them to worship God alone, delivering guidance on how to live peaceably with others. Some of the prophets of God include Adam, Noah, and Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. And Ishmael was never a prophet. There's no prophecy that Ishmael had. Ishmael was a wild man. Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Peace be upon all them. The prophets all conveyed the consistent divine message of worshiping one God, along with specific social laws which each nation's circumstances, right? And all of that's madness, right? What Islam does is it's a faith where everyone can be accepted, a faith where the Lord loves everybody. And also in Islam, they hate Yahweh Shah. They hate what the world calls Jesus Christ. They don't denounce him, right? They look at it as it's only Allah, right? And Allah is a Hebrew word. So when you go to the first language, right? And I'm going to break this down too. I may come back to that through the spirit, but you had the Photo-Canaanite, right? You had the ancient pictograph. You had the Paleo-Hebrew. You had the Assyrian Hebrew. So going back all the way from the beginning, way before you even get to the Akkadian language, way before you get to Islam and all of these different things, and Arabians and their language, all of that goes back to the Hebrew. So none of them would even be speaking prior to Ishmael, Muhammad, and all of these false religions and prophets that stem out of these men. Right? So the Lord's not dealing with a universal faith. That's not in the Bible. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18. This is Deuteronomy, chapter 18. And I'm going to start at verse number 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. So the Lord never raised up prophets from all nations of people. The Lord never raised up an Edomite. The Lord never raised up a Moabite, an Ammonite, a Japhite, right? And all of these strange nations with strange tongues to teach our people when we never spoke these languages, prior to be dispersed into all places. It says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto the words which he speak in my name, I will require it of him. Right? And on a deeper level, this is going into Yahweh Shah. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that I shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. All right, so what's the overall lot of Islam? The followers of Islam, the so-called Prophet Muhammad, all of you false people that wear those silly hats that look like yarmulke hats, right, that break all of your so-called laws that are in that book, which are not even your laws, that contradict everything you say. Right? All Islam is a weed smoking, right, cigarette smoking, contradiction, jailhouse religion, man, amongst our people. I mean, the Muslims will jump you in jail, man. The Muslims don't spread peace. Where are your Muslim prophets on the corner? Where they shaking their hand at, man? Where they actually going into the scrolls, going into the history, breaking things down? Or are they shaving their face, man, and wearing suits and selling bean pies? We're selling bean pies and shaving your face and wearing a suit the Most High's will. When did the Most High tell you to wear a suit and to shave your face and to speak politely and use big words? We're not impressed by big words. We're not impressed by suits. We're not impressed that you have a building. We're We're not impressed that you're on a platform where you have 300,000 people watching you and your views are high. We're not impressed by all of your renownedness of this world. That doesn't impress the elect. That doesn't impress the men of God. That's going to berate the simple-minded, the foolish. Then about a led captive that have no understanding. The Lord said, even that prophet, it shall die. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord hath spoken? And that's a question for everybody. Everybody may say, well, how do we really know that, the Bible is the truth? Right? Islam the truth? Is Egyptology the truth? Which way and which religion, which way of understanding, what is the right way to go? How do you know? When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, check that out, nor come to pass, that the thing which the Lord have not spoken, but the prophet have spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. So the only way you could tell if a man is a true prophet is if the thing he said come to pass. So from all the way, the 610, right, going into it, when the founding understanding of revelation was given to the so-called Prophet Muhammad, you have something called, right, the night vision, right, that Muhammad got this so-called revelation, right? And we're going to dive into all of that, right? Where did all of this come to pass? Where is his prophecies? Where are they? Now, in so-called Islam, it says, do all Muslims have to visit Mecca? Right? Haji in Islam, the pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca and Saudi Arabia, which every adult Muslim must take at least once, right, in his or her lifetime. So all you so-called Muslims out there, right, that act as if you're so-called deep in the faith, right, you're required to take a trip at least once in your life to go down to the city of Mecca. Why? To worship a false god, to worship a deity, to worship a principality. Principalities are spirits over regions. You have a spirit of murder over Chicago, a spirit of a homosexual demon right in Atlanta, right? You have a spirit, right, of division, right, in all type of councils and wicked dark things going on, right, when you go to Washington, D.C. You have principalities, and a principality is a demon worshiping spirit, right, over Mecca, right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Jeremiah. Right, it's the mighty book of Jeremiah, right, chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 27. Saying to a stock, thou art my father, and to a stone thou hast begotten me forth, for they have turned their back unto me. So the Lord said, the children of Israel, they say to a stock that thou art my father. A stock is a tree trunk. And that's exactly what they were doing in that Apollo show. They would come out, they would rub that stock and that tree trunk, and then they would go perform. As if that stock and that trunk and that tree and that wood was going to give them power, was going to bless them to be able to teach and be able to, whatever the case may be, sing or dance. Thou hast brought me forth, for they have turned their back unto me and not their face. But in the time of trouble, right, their trouble, they will say, arise and save us. So they're going to say to these false deities, right, these false demons and these rocks and all of these different crystals to save us. The Most High never gave you a crystal. He never gave you a stock or a tree trunk. He never gave you stones. He never gave you these things. So when it says every adult Muslim must take at least once, right, in his or her life, the Haji is the fifth and fundamental Muslim practice, an institution known as the 5 pillars of Islam. So why do you serve a God where it's based on if you have enough money to travel to get to Mecca to be able to praise him? What kind of God is that? So what if you don't have enough money? What if you're not able to financially get on the plane? What if you're not able to get to Mecca? What if you're not able to travel over to the east? You're going to be not accepted as a true Muslim. And your so-called God, which is Allah, that false God, is going to look down on you and not accept you. diving into the 5 pillars of Islam, which they stand on. The Most High God, the true and living God, he's not a God of money, a God of traveling. You must travel to Israel. And if you don't, you cut off. And the Lord will never talk to you again, and you'll be destroyed. No, the Lord is a merciful God. Right in the law, when you read the book of Leviticus, I'm going to dive in this real quick. Right, you had certain things and sacrifices that the Most High was compassionate if you didn't have enough money. Right? Let's get that real fast in Leviticus. Right, this Leviticus chapter 5 in verse, I'm going to start at 7. And if he be not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring for his trespass, which he hath committed, 2 turtle doves. So if he didn't have enough money, you understand, I have a lamb, the Lord said, you know what, I'm merciful, you could bring 2 turtle doves. It says, or the young 2 pigeons unto the Lord, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. And he shall bring them unto the priest, and shall offer which is for the sin offering first, and wring off his head from his neck, and shall not divide it asunder. Right? Now I'm going to dive down a little bit. Let's jump to verse 11. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves. So say you don't have enough money to have a lamb. Okay, cool. The Lord will give you mercy. Now you have 2 turtle doves. But if you don't have 2 turtle doves, and you don't have enough money for that, this is what the Lord said. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he shall, so like he that has sinned shall bring for his trespass his offering 10th part of an ephod of fine flour for a sin offering. So you go from a lamb, then you go to turtle doves, then you go to what? Fine flour. That's being merciful. The Lord even told you to sell what thou has or put it into money in the book of Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter, to take it to be able to give it to the Levites. You understand? So the Most High is not dealing, he's not a God of money or a God where you have to do these travelings to be able to get to this place. And if you don't do that, you're not accepted as a true Muslim. That's madness. Now, this is what the 5 pillars of Islam stand for. Professional of faith, Shahada. So everybody, when they come into so-called Islam, they have to take their Shahada. Right? Their Shahada is pronouncing that, you know what, he's the only God. He's one God. So essentially, when you take your Shahada, you're denouncing Yahweh Shah. You're denouncing our Lord and Savior. Right? Profession of faith, Shahada. That belief that there is no God, but God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. So what is that, man? That's sorcery. That's evilness. Yeah, literally signing a covenant with death and evilness. Now, let me get this quick precept. And all you brothers that take your Shahada, right, or you on the fence, I don't know if I want to be an Israelite, I don't know if I want to be in Islam, and I don't really know what this thing stands for. Stop following your father around, man. Stop following your uncle. Stop following men around. Read, study. Do your research on these religions, where they come from, their customs, what they stand for, and that the Most High ordained it. Well, a lot of our people are too busy following, man. If I follow my mother, I'll still be in Christianity. If I follow my grandmother, I'll still be in Christianity. I'm not following nobody but the Lord, man. He's my shepherd. He's my God. And Jake got to start reading, man. Right? Let me get this real fast. Right? There is no God, right, but God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. It's central to Islam. This phrase, written in Arabic, is often predominantly featured or architectural at a range of objects, including the Quran, Islam, holy books of divine revelations. But there's no revelations in the Quran. The only revelations that they have in the so-called Quran is false revelations. Revelations of what they call upon the night mountain. That's madness. That's not a revelation, nor is that a prophecy. That's a made-up tale about a so-called white man that got a revelation right on that day. And on that day, that revelation so-called came to pass, which started Islam. That's madness. That's not a prophecy. That's a made-up tale and a revelation by a bugged-out man that was a rapist and a colonizer that went to war. It says one became a Muslim by reciting this phrase with conviction. So what do they make you do? They make you to sign yourself in your name and blood, man. That's what he made you do. Now, through the Spirit, we entered into a covenant with the Most High God, right? A righteous covenant. And the Most High would give us blessings, mercy, everlasting life, right? The Most High would give us eternity, land, dominion, slaves, honor, glory, right? And to be able to sit upon thrones. But what are you entering into, you understand? By these false ideologies. Let me get this real fast. This is the mighty book, right, of Isaiah, right, chapter 28. And I'm going to start at 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death. And that's what you have done. When you sign up to Islam, you made a covenant with death. When you sign up to Christianity, you made a covenant with death. When you signed up to denounce the name of the Most High, you made a covenant with death. Death, making a covenant with death is talking about the grave. And with hell are we at agreements. It's not talking about physical underground place with hell. It's talking about a lower state, and it's talking about the pit where your bodies will lay. That's what Jake made an agreement with, and you don't even know it. When you signed up for the army to fight in his Air Force, you made a covenant with death. You made a covenant with hell. And you're at agreements, meaning you're at the same mind. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. You can't hide yourself under Islam, man. You can't hide yourself under these false philosophies. Did not the Lord say in the book, right, of Song of Solomon, right, come from beneath thee, let me see thy countenance? Meaning come from beneath these religions, these nations, and these demons and these spirits, and let me see your countenance. It's the book of Song of Solomon 2 and 14. Oh, my dove that are in the cleft of the rock. The dove is Israel. The cleft of the rock is talking about what? Esau. You're under his religion. You're under his customs. You're under his care. You're under his military. You're under his understanding. In the secret places of the stairs. Meaning we're so deep in the caves and the clefts of the rocks, we're in parts you can't even see. That's how much we trust into him where we can't see the light. Let me see thy countenance. Meaning come from beneath thee. Let me hear thy voice, for sweet is the voice, and thy countenance is comely. So the Most High is telling you over and over, come from beneath these beasts, man, these other nations. So you get the first one out of the 5 pillars of Islam is the profession of faith is taking your Shahada, which is denouncing your Yahweh. The next one, the Shalat, is the prayer. Muslims pray facing Mecca 5 times a day. Right? And when you actually go into Islam and its history, right, so-called the Prophet Muhammad had a vision by Allah. He went up to the 3rd heaven, and they used to pray, I believe, 70 times a day. But he said that Allah told him all he has to pray now is 5 times a day. So he took the message from on high. This is Esau. Esau goes up to the heavens, talks to Allah. Allah says, look, you're praying too much. You don't have to pray that much. He chopped it down from 70 to 5 times a day. He comes back on earth and he gives a divine revelation. That's not in the Bible. That's made up. That's not the truth. And people are so falsely believing in false hope that they believe anything, man. Let me get this quick precept. I know I was about to read that, but let me get this quick precept. Right? Our people believe anything. Right? This is the mighty book of Proverbs, chapter 14 and verse 15. The simple believeth every word. So if you're simple, you're going to believe in everything. You're going to believe in every word. You're going to believe in every religion and every tale. But the prudent man looketh well to his goings. I mean, he's going to question everything. He's going to put it on trial. And the Lord said, prove all things. So Muslims pray facing Mecca 5 times a day, at dawn, noon, and mid-afternoon. Right? They stole that from the scriptures. That's where you get in the book, right, of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 17. So they're taking bits and pieces of the Bible and they're forming a religion after it. Recitation. All right, this is Psalms chapter 55 and verse 17. Even in morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. So they're taking the ancient Psalms of David and mixing it with their philosophies in the Shalat. It says sunset and after dark. Prayer includes a recitation of the open chapter Shara of the Quran, and is sometimes performed on a small rug or mat used expressively for this purpose. But what if you don't have your mat? Then what? When did the Most High say having a Latin rug, man? Well, let me get this real fast, man. When did the Most High give you the Aladdin rug, man? What precept is there where the Most High said to bow down upon a rug? Last time I checked, when our prophets like Elijah, right, bowed down to the Most High God, he put his face in the dirt and his hand between his knees. There was no rug. Now, let me get the book of 1 Kings chapter 18. It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 18, right? And start at verse 42. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up at the top of Carmel and cast him down, so like, and cast himself down upon the earth. What does upon the earth mean? Meaning his knees hit the ground. There was no rugs. There was no shahadas. There were no salats. There were no all of these different things. He put his knees to the earth and put his face between his knees. That's how you pray. You don't need a rug. He's the God of the rug, man. Right? The Most High is not dealing with rugs. But you have to use it for this purpose. Muslims can pray individually at any location or together in a mosque where a leader in prayer, a imam, guides the congregation. Men gather at the mosque of noon prayer on Friday, and women are welcome, but not obligated to participate after the prayer sermon. All right, this is madness. So you have to take your prayer. That's one of the other 5 pillars of Islam. The arms, the qazat. In ordinance with Islam law, Muslims donate a fixed portion of their income to the community members in need. Many rulers and wealthy Muslims build mosques, drinking fountains, hospitals, schools, and other institutions. So you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are in this, you're just giving your money to the Arabs, man. Playing upon tables. You're giving your money unto other nations. And you think you're doing it in a spirit of love or spirit of unity or a spirit of coming together in a universal mindset. But the Most High never told you to give your money to build up their schools. That's what we're paying taxes for right now, to build up America, to build up their hospitals, build up their schools, build up their roads and other institutions, both as a religious duty and to secure the blessing associated with charity. But that's not in the Bible. Fasting, right? Swam. During the daylight hours of Ramadan, the 9th month of Islam calendar, all healthy adult Muslims are required. But what if you're not healthy? When did the Most High say, well, if you're healthy, right, then, you know, you could do it, but if not, oh well. No, you have to fast regardless, no matter what's going on. The Day of Atonement is for all, whether you're sick, you're poor, right, no matter what's going on. To abstain from food and drink, though the temporary deprivation, they renew their awareness and their gratitude for everything God has provided in their lives. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is your 5 so-called, right, I'm going to read one more, right, that was fasting, and pilgrimage. Every Muslim who's healthy and finances permitted must make at least one visit to the holy city of Mecca, present-day Saudi Arabia, right? So these are your 5 pillars, right, of what it means and what it takes to come into being a Muslim. Now, let me get this real fast. Let's go to Genesis. This is Genesis chapter 17 and verse number 19. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. The Lord never established a covenant, you understand, with any other nation. It was always with Isaac, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I will bless him, and I will make him fruitful. So this is his blessing. right? He was to be fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begat, and I will make him a great nation. So the Lord made Ishmael a great nation. That was his blessing, for him to be fruitful, for him to be the dragons of Arabia, have the Arabian Peninsula, and have all of those different parts in the Middle East to expand. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. So what did Abraham do, right, when you read the book, right, of Genesis chapter 25? This is Genesis chapter 25 and 5. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. So the blessings, the mercy, all of everlasting life, being the God of, all of that fell upon Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward, right, unto the east country. So Abraham never gave all that he had unto Ishmael. He never was dealing with Ishmael. Right, let's go to Genesis chapter 16. This is Genesis chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse number 15. Right, matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse number 11. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord have heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man. His hand not only is against every man, it's against his own man, because he's going to set himself up against his own people and fight against his own people and join battle with them. You can read about that in the book, right, of Second Esdras, right, the 15th chapter. It says, in every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. So Ishmael's present, his portion, and who he is a wild man. He has no order, right? He'll chop off your hand, he'll chop off your tongue. He dances, he rides camels, he's a desert monkey, he's evil, right? He has no sense of pride, or he'll blow himself up and his household for his religion. He's wild. He has no type of manners and discretion. He's just for destruction. That's who Ishmael is, man. He's a wild man. And why are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans following after this, man? Now I want to dive into the Nation of Islam, your modern day Nation of Islam, where Farrakhan and, right, and Elijah Muhammad and all of these men, right, and Wallace Fard Muhammad and all of these men come out of, right, the Nation of Islam, right, formation, right, founded July 4th, 1930, 93 years ago. Now, their founder is Wallace Fard Muhammad. Now, Wallace Fard Muhammad, right, is what? He's an Arabian, right? So your founder of Islam isn't an Israelite. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, long time ago you had Islam and da-da-da-da-da. No, when this is coming back into fruition, years later, the founder of the Nation of Islam is not an Israelite. He's not for you. If you're not founding your foundation upon a rock, like it says in the book of Matthew, the 7th chapter, then everything else is going to fall. You can't found it on an Edomite. You cannot found it on a Moabite. You can't found it on an Ishmaelite. You have to found it upon the true and living God. But let me get that real fast, and I'm going to come back to this. Let's go to the book of Matthew. This is Matthew, right? Chapter 7. And I'm going to start at verse number 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. That rock is Yahweh. If you're not building upon this truth, then everything you're building is going to come to naught. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And that rock is Yahweh Shai. It's wisdom. It's this truth. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And that's spiritual, man. Because, I mean, these Arabians, they deal with sand. They're in the desert, right? On another fold. But sand sinks. Sand slides. Sand isn't strong. It isn't put together. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon thy house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. So great is going to be the fall of all you builders and all you men that trust in other religions and customs. So it says the Nation of Islam was a religious and political organization founded in the United States. So it's founded in a state made off of blood by Wallace Ford Muhammad. Now, who is this man? Let's dive into it. Although the Nation of Islam hid and distorted the background of its founder. Why is it hiding it? Because the Nation of Islam, predominantly 99.9 of them are all Israelites. They're all so-called black men. But they don't want you to know the true man that started the Nation of Islam, right, was an Ishmaelite. It says Ford Muhammad, mad, he was never said to be of African descent. Ford Muhammad's father was Pakistani and his mother was white. Zoolander. Check that out, man. So for all you men that are following this, who built it? Can you truly trust your enemy to give you a religion? Give you the truth? Give you life? You understand? Give you the truth of the Most High? So he gave it in 1913, a black nationalist organization, the NOI, which is what? The Nation of Islam. Now, if you got ears to hear and you're wise and you can perceive things through the spirit, you could already know that Wallace Ford was set up by the U.S. government. He was set up to give the so-called Negroes an identity that they may follow and that they may unite, but under a false religion. So no matter how strong they are, how much fist pump, no matter how much unity they think they have, they're not keeping any laws, and it's going to keep them in sin. By building them up at the same time with knowledge and wisdom, and they think that they have the world and God of Muhammad and all of these different things, it's all a lie. It says fuses the attention of the African, right? So like, I want to get something else on this. Right? It says the Nation of Islam is a new religious movement. So they call it a movement, right? Most High's not dealing with movements and all of these different things. He's dealing with what? A bloodline. So you have Wallace Ford Muhammad, right? Which was a Pakistani in descent, and his mother was a so-called white woman. Now, after Ford Wallace Muhammad, after he gave up the ghost or passed the torch, he passed it to Elijah Muhammad. Now, Elijah Muhammad kind of did a lot more groundwork. You had the founder of it, and then you had the man stemming out of him, which did a lot of pavement and a lot of work during his time, which his face being a so-called African-American will be able to be so-called trusted and to follow the way. Now, so-called Elijah Muhammad, check this out, who led the Nation of Islam from 1934 to 1975, heard Ford teach for the first time in 1931. So as he's hearing this Arabian teach, Elijah Muhammad stated that he and Ford became inseparable, that's off, between 1931 and 1934. So he got seduced by the other nations and their philosophies. He got seduced, he joined with this man, right? And they had an alliance, and from there on out, he passed the torch to him, to his false religion, and he started to teach these ungodly customs, where he felt jailed almost due to the amount of time that they spent together. That sounds sodomitish. He said they spent so much time together that he felt jailed almost. What does that mean? How much time did you spend? Where did you spend it? That's off. Due to the amount of time that they spent together, with Ford teaching him day and night. And I haven't read that part, right? So your so-called Elijah Muhammad, was at this nation's house day and night, and he felt jailed up by all the time they spent together, man. Now, whether that's some sodomite spirit along with that or not, he got seduced by the other nations. And that's what happens when you listen to these false prophets. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Jeremiah. It's Jeremiah, right? Chapter 28. And I'm going to start at verse number 2. Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, I have broken the yoke of the king of Babylon. Within 2 full years, I will bring again unto this place all the vessels of the Lord, house that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, took away from this place, carried them into Babylon. And I will bring again to this place Joachim, right, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, with all the captives of Judah that went into Babylon, saith the Lord. And I will break the yoke of the king of Babylon. Well, where did the Lord say that? Then the prophet Jeremiah said unto the prophet Hananiah, in the presence of the priests, in the presence of all the people that stood in the house of the Lord. So Jeremiah had to rise up and he had to tell the truth. He had to break down these lies, break down these false prophets. Even the prophet Jeremiah said, Amen. The Lord do so. Why? Because he understood Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, right? Verse 19 all the way down. So the Lord performed thy words which thou hast prophesied, to bring again the vessel of the Lord's house, and all that is carried captive from Babylon into this place. Nevertheless, hear thou now this word that I speak in the ears, right, and in the ears of all the people. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied of both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Your true prophets are going to prophesy the destruction of all the places where Israel was turned captive. Why? Because it's a punishment. The Lord isn't coming to set you free in all of these different places, man. This is a punishment. You have to fulfill your punishment in the places where the Lord has put you. Why? Through idolatry, turning your back on him, not keeping these laws. Once you turn from your wicked ways and keep the laws, that's when you'll be set free. The Most High is not going to set you free in the midst of sin, in the midst of wickedness. So Jeremiah, he said, look, the prophets that have been right before me and before thee of old prophesied against many countries. Right? We prophesied against all of your countries. Babylon, right? The Persian-Medo Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the daughter of Babylon, right? Egypt. We prophesied against all these places and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. The prophet which prophesied of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord had truly sent him. Check that out. So, Jeremiah knew that there were false prophets sent among you, that there were liars and all of these different men sent to corrupt you and overthrow you. Now, Elijah Muhammad in the nation of Islam, their religion is nothing but a religion, but they think they come from what they call the lost tribe of Shabaz. Now, the lost tribe of Shabaz, when you go into the history of the lost tribe of Shabaz, they believe that everybody stems from the lost tribe of Shabaz except for the so-called white man, which contradicts yet again the Holy Scriptures. Because the Most High gave everybody their own section, their own land, their own language, their own portion, and their own nation. When you read the book, right, of Genesis, the 10th chapter. So I want to dive into the lost tribe of Shabaz, right? What the hell is the lost tribe of Shabaz? Right? We're the Israelites. There are 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. There is no tribe of Shabaz. Right? It says the tribe of Shabaz was according to the nation of Islam, an ancient black nation that migrated into Central Africa. Now, Central Africa, that doesn't really make any sense because when we flee, we came to the west part of Africa. Now, we did get sold in the west part and the central part of Africa. Now, the west part would be right on that corner, right? If you can see Africa, right? You have North Africa at the top. You have South Africa at the bottom. On the right side, toward going to Israel, is East Africa, going toward the east. And then on the other side, where that curve is, right, where they came with the transatlantic slave trade, is your west. Now that curve down the African slope will be a central part of Africa, led by a leader named Shabaz. So it was a man that rised up, right? And he said that all ancient black nations migrated into Central Africa, and they're the lost tribe of Shabazz. The concept is founded primarily in writings of Wallace Ford Muhammad. Who's giving all of these doctrines to our people, man? Who's giving all of these false philosophies to our people? Who's telling you your nationality, man? The so-called Arabian, so-called white man, the so-called Moabites, all of the Moabite men, so-called Chinese men. All of these nations are telling you who you are, man. When are you going to listen to the Most High? So the lost tribe of Shabazz was given to you by your enemy and Elijah Muhammad, because he was seduced. God forbid he maybe was molested or touched or what, however that thing kind of went down. They say he was bound day and night to this man. You know, I don't really know what that means. According to the autobiography of Malcolm X, all the races except the white race were descendants, right, of the tribe of Shabazz. So that means your Moabites was descendants, your Ammonites, your Japhites. Right? This is madness. But that's what they believe. They believe you come from the same exact loins and you're the same exact race. And you're all the same exact tribe. That's madness. So when, you know, they kick that African panism, that Egyptology, I'm Asiatic and all of this madness, to be Asiatic just means you stem from Asia. It's literally what the word Asiatic means. Tribe of Shabazz, going into the history, you could chop down the tribe of Shabazz. Going into the moon and the star, and, you know, when you identify everything about Islam, know what it stands for, you can't be overthrown. See, when somebody come at you with big words and suits and ties and unity and they all marching and stop. Now go. Now everybody all walking like the Malcolm X movie and everybody getting out the way. Right? Nobody cares about that, man. That's all smoke and mirrors. Let me get 1 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter. Right? This is the book of 2 Corinthians 2, right? In verse number 6. Howbeit, we speak wisdom among men, so like them that are perfect, yet not wisdom of this world. Right? We don't speak the wisdom of this world. We're not going into all of your deep, dark things and math equations and all of these big words and letters, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught. Because their wisdom is to overthrow men. We have the wisdom of the Most High. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto glory, which none of the princes of this world knew. Right? So your Ford Wallace, he didn't know the wisdom of this world. Your Elijah Muhammad, right? He doesn't know the wisdom of the Most High. Right? Your false Malcolm X's, before he turned to the truth, right? He didn't know all of these things. Your political, all of these leaders, they didn't know these things, which none of the princes of this world knew. For they knew, so like if they known it, they would have not crucified the Lord of glory. Check that out, man. I want to go back to this real fast. Right? Now, I said it earlier on in the lesson, I don't want to dive into it. Do Muslims believe in Jesus Christ? Muslims do not worship Jesus, who is known as an Isaac in Arabia, nor do they consider him divine, but they do believe that he was a prophet or a messenger of God, and he called the Messiah in the Quran. Now, they don't believe in the Lord Yahweh Shah. And that's another reason, right, why this Muslim belief is garbage. It's madness. It's evil. To dive and to think that you could deny our Lord Yahweh Shah, right, you're not going to have any salvation. But I'm going to touch on this as well, right? The Isra and Majra, right? Which is the divine revelation of what they call the Prophet Muhammad, right? Going into the history. And they show him depicted, right, as a so-called white man. And we're going to prove that, right? It says, are the two parts of a night journey that the Muslims believe that Abrahamic's prophet Muhammad, during a single night round the year, right, 621 AD, with Islam, a majority of the scholars agree that the journey was both a physical and spiritual one, in spite of the physics required of such a journey, making it essentially impossible. A brief mention of the story is found in the 17th chapter of Surah in the Quran, right? Diving down to this right here. The Isra, the night journey, Muhammad is said to have traveled on the back of Burak. So, I mean, this is what you believe in, right? The so-called white man, he has traveled on the back of a supernatural horse, right? It's mixing Greek mythology, it's mixing Egyptology, right, all together. It is mixing a false spirit of creatures that don't exist. It says a winged horse-like animal, right, to Al-Zala, a noble sanctuary, where he led other prophets, excluding, right, Abraham. So, I mean, you can't believe this, man. He took this wild journey on his horse, and he took with him Abraham and Moses and Isa, right, Yahushua, in prayer. Muhammad then ascended into heaven during the Mejra ascension, where he individually greeted the prophets. So he came up to the third heaven. He seen Abraham, Moses, right, and Yahushua, came up to the heaven and later spoke to God. Now he's speaking with the Most High, who agreed to lower the number required shalat, right, from 50 a day, right, to only 5, right? So like I said, 70 earlier, 50 prayers. So when did the Most High say, look, you're praying too much? We're going to chop down your 50 prayers to only 5 prayers, which was your 5 pillars of Islam to join in, the shalat and all of these different things, man. I thought the Lord said pray without ceasing. I thought the Lord said in Luke the 18th chapter, men ought to always pray and not to faint. So when would this God tell you to chop down your prayers from 50 only to 5? The journey and ascended as a mark of one of the most celebrated dates in Islamic calendar, the 27th of Islam, the month of Rabja. So like you had something called the night journey. This is where he gets all of this big revelation and all of this big knowledge that a lot of people look at as prophecy, which is called your night journey, which is blatantly blasphemous of Allah, right? Now also you had the Battle of Badr, right? The Battle of Badr took place in March 624 CE. The Arabian town of Badr, between the Islamic prophet Muhammad led Muslim army and a relief column to Mecca, Quraysh tribe. So why is this prophet that's all love and peace waging war on earth? Well, why is he waging war? And what is he waging war on? People want to big up this big prophet Muhammad like he's some divine man of the Most High. But he's waging war on the earth. Killing people. Destroying people. Where is that of the Most High? Every single time we went to war in order, it was under the hand of the Most High. Look at David, he never failed. Look at Judas Maccabees. Look at the conquest of Joshua. Look at all of the wars that we waged, you understand, in righteousness, in Judges, right, in Joshua, right, in Exodus, the 17th chapter, under Moses. It was always under the Most High. The Most High was never with this man. It says the latter had originally set out to protect their homeward bound trade caravan that Hamanit was about to raid. Salaki, bear with me. In order of his followers to carry out several raids, right, on Quraysh Curvians, which despised initial failures, finally succeeded, gaining their first plunger at Nagath when the Kodesh, when observing in holy month, forbidding them from shedding blood, man. Right? So he waged war on earth. This is one of his wars and battles that he waged, the Battle of Badr. Right? I think I want a little bit more on this. Right, let me read this. Muhammad tried to ambush it on its departure, but failed. But why is he ambushing towns and villages? On the Curvians' return journey, Muhammad planned to raid it again. And Curvian reported a consistent of 1,000 camels, 50,000 drachmas worth of goods at Zakreth. Abad Surfian got wind of Muhammad's intentions and sent a messenger to Mecca for help. A relief column said to have been 1,000 strong under Habad Jalath then set out to protect the Curvian. Meaning what, man? He had intentions of pillaging and destroying. So he was a commander and a leader. The belligerents were the early so-called Muslims to rape and to get the land and steal the land from the forces of Mecca, which was an Arabian clan, right, that they fought against. That's your early Muslims. Now, once again, Muhammad is a white man. Imagine a white man coming in to the Arabian clans trying to take down Mecca so that he may plant his flag there. There's nothing new under the sun. He's been stealing lands since the time he's been on the move, right? And we might come back to this war that was waged, right, in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I want to get this too. The spreading of Muhammad's influence. So he's not just some divine prophet, you understand, from the Most High. His influence was spread by slaughter and killing and forcing religion down people's throats. It says, at first, he met no serious resistance from the people of Mecca, who were indifferent to his proselytizing activities until he began to attack their beliefs, which led to tension. So, so-called Prophet Muhammad started attacking people's beliefs, which led to tension and war and destruction, right? Now, I also want to touch on something also called the Muslim conquest of Persia. So this dates around 632 to 654, you understand? Around the same time, right, that Islam and that belief and that system and the Prophet Muhammad are coming into power, you understand, and they're getting established. Yet the Muslim conquest of Persia, where they took down those lands. It says the Muslim conquest of Persia, also called the Muslim conquest of Iran, the Arabian conquest of Persia, or the Arab conquest of Iran, was a majority military campaign undertaken by Rashadian of Caliphate between 632 and 654 as a part of the early Muslim conquest, which began under Muhammad. So that began under who? Muhammad. Was Arabian religious, social, and political leader and the founder of Islam. So your whole man called the Prophet Muhammad, off of his back, he started a whole conquest of war to steal land. Now, all you so-called Negroes and all you so-called African Americans, you probably didn't know that. Right? When the Lord walked the earth, he was peace. He was love. Right? He healed his people. Right? He's going to come back as a lion, but he came, you understand, as a sheep. Right? Our people wasn't out of order, raping and stealing and pillaging lands. No, we got what the Lord had promised us from old. You understand? But these other nations, they invade lands, they wage war, right? And they destroy villages. It says, while the Arabians was experiencing the rise of Islam in the 7th century, Persia was struggling and so like it preceded in levels of politics, social, and economical, and military weakness. And you also had the Sidonian army, right? And that's a whole nother topic, right? That may be another breakdown through the spirit. But nevertheless, it started under Muhammad in 622. And then you had the Persian conquest, or the Muslim conquest of Persia, right? And also you have something called the Night of Power, right? Now this was also by your so-called Prophet Muhammad. You had the night journey, the night of power. This is what they bow down and they praise as his divine revelations. Now we always say, you know, in our community and with our people, with the prophets, name one prophecy. Name one prophecy that Islam had or that the Prophet Muhammad had. This is the only thing they try to go to, right? These accounts that I'm bringing out, they try to make it sound like he had some divine understanding, you know, given. The night of power, also rendered as the night of destiny, the night of decree, the night of determination, right? A pernicious night in Islamic belief, the night when Muslims believed the Quran was first sent down from heaven to the world. So that's what they call the night of power. And they worship these days and these nights and all of these different things. We're not worshiping days of man. We're worshiping the Most High, what the Most High have decreed via man. It says, and also the night when it was first were revealed to the Islamic prophet Muhammad. And this isn't a divine Islamic prophet Muhammad. This is a demon which waged war, which deceived the innocent, which raped and colonized and stole land, which lied, which so-called ride upon four-footed beasts with wings that ascended up to the Most High, that talked with the Most High face to face and discussed matters with Moses, Yahushua, and Abraham, which is madness. I may come back to this. I want to get some Quran cuts. So for all you brothers that teach, we got the Quran cuts. Now you can take a screenshot of all the Quran cuts, all right, from Surah to Hadath, right, to Lava, to all of these different cuts that were better than them or contradiction. So you got Surah 10 and 94. When in doubt, read the Bible. Now I'm not going to read all of these, but I'm going to pull a couple of them. Right? Hadath 1 and 63, Muhammad is a white man. Let's pull that one. It even tells you in the Quran he was a so-called white man. And why is your book having other prophets of other nations? That's just madness and confusion. Right? This is Hadath chapter 1 and verse number 63. Right? I don't know if brothers can see this. I might just zoom in. Right? It says, while we were sitting with the prophet in the mosque, a man came riding on a camel. He made his camel kneel down in the mosque and tied his forelegs and said, "Who among you is Muhammad?" So they're asking a question. Where is Muhammad at? At the time, the prophet was sitting amongst us, his companions leaning on his arm. We replied, "This white man reclining on his arm." When they asked, "Who's Muhammad?" they replied and said, "This white man reclining on his arm," right? So your whole hope and joy, your whole salvation is based off of a so-called white man. And all of you jakes that have been locked up by the so-called white man, raped by the so-called white man, and killed and slain by the so-called white man, right, that worship Islam in jail with all your different philosophies, you're taking your Shahada, you bowing down on your carpets and doing all of these things. This is who gave you that. This is your hope. This is your God. This is your prophet. It says, and then he addressed him, "O son of Adab Mathula." Right? Let me get another cut. Right? You got Surah 2 and 122. Right? I want to get this real fast. Like I said, I'm not going to read all of these or go through all of them, but most I when you can screenshot and dive into these things. This Surah 2 and 122. Children of Israel, recall my favor which I bestowed upon you, and I exalted you above all the nations of the world. So even under Ishmael, with his own ideology and understanding, with his own false book, he's still worshiping you. He still knows you're the children of the promise. You're the children of faith. You're the children of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And he knows that. Now let's get Surah 5 and 96. Right? It is lawful for you to hunt and eat seafood as a provision for you and for travelers, but hunting on land is forbidden to you while on pilgrimage. Right? It says, it is lawful for you to hunt and to eat seafood as a provision for you and for travelers, but hunting on land is forbidden to you while on pilgrimage. Be mindful of Allah, to whom you all will be gathered. Right? That's madness. You can eat any and all fish in the water. Right? I mean, you got Guide, a Book of Israel, read the Prophet Amos, Muhammad, the first Muslim, Surah 6 and 163. Right? Let me see what else we got. Right? You could beat your wife. Right? Why are you following a religion that you could beat your wife in, right? Let me get this real fast. Right? Now I may not read this whole thing. Right? It says, men are caretakers of women, since Allah has made some of them excel the others, and because of wealth they have spent. So the righteous women are obedient and guard the property and honor of their husbands, and their absence with protection given by Allah. As for women of whom ye fear rebellion, convince them and leave them apart in beds and beat them. Then, if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. Surely Allah is the highest and greatest. Where is that in the Bible to beat your women, man? So what if your woman not listening, man? Right? You told her to cover her whole face, but she had her nose peeking out, man. She had her ears showing. She had one of her lips showing, man. I mean, you could take a stick, a branch, a weapon, an iron, rod, your hand, a hanger, a bat, and you could beat them with it. It says, as the women of whom ye fear rebellion. See, if our women are rebellion with us, we fast with them. You get counsel. You pray. You read. You wash and you cleanse spiritually that demon out of them. We're spiritual people. They're a carnal people. Convince them and leave them apart in beds. So you can leave them in beds, man. Lock the door. Lock them up somewhere. And beat them. It don't say how long. Even in the law, 40 stripes save one. It even tell you how long you could beat somebody. Lest thy neighbor shall seem vile unto thee. In Deuteronomy chapter 25. Then if they obey you, do not seek a way against them. Surely Allah is highest and greatest. Right? So, I mean, Surah 2 and 173, you can eat pork. But I thought that Islam's said you can't eat pork. So these are just contradictions and evil teachings of Islam that our people may or may not even know that are even in there. right? And I want to pull that real fast through the spirit. He has only forbidden you to eat carrion, blood, swine, and what is slaughtered in the name of any other, right, than Allah. But if someone is compelled by necessity, neither driven by desire, nor exceedingly, immediately need, they will not be sinful. Surely Allah is forgiving, most merciful. So you can eat swine, you can eat pork, and you can eat pig. And you can eat anything you want in Islam. Because why? Because Allah is all forgiving and merciful, man. Where is that out in the Bible? I thought our forefathers were killed and forcibly eating swine, man. Let me get 2 Maccabees chapter 6 real fast. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, of well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and eat swine's flesh. So you have Islam, they say, well, you know what? It's not that bad. You know, Allah is a merciful God. No, Allah is a damn joke, man. Allah is a made-up God. What kind of God is double-minded on what he gave you to do, man? Either it's a sin or it's not. Plain upon tables. Now, if by chance, through crafty counsel, you don't know you're doing these things, eating these things, that's where mercy comes in. But to willingly be hungry and to eat it, that's just borderline double-minded. You don't even know what you're following at that point. Was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh, but he crushing rather to die gloriously. So he chose rather to die than to eat pork, than to live stained with such an abomination. So what is eating pork? An abomination. Spit it forth and came of his own accord to the torment. So he was rather to be tormented and beaten and killed and slain than to eat swine's flesh. That's the mind of our forefathers and the spirit that they were in. As it behooved them to come, that they are resolute to stand out in such things as are not lawful, for love of life to be tasted. They're not lawful. Let me go back to that real fast. He has only forbidden you to eat carrion, blood, swine, and what is slaughtered in the name of any other God than Allah. So if you slay it, you know, in the name of Allah, I mean, hey, you can barbecue it. You can taste it, you can lick it, you know, you can get into it. What kind of God is this? What kind of evil spirits are these? In Sirah 10 and 90, Ishmael saved, right? Israel out of Egypt. So, I mean, this is just madness. Straight madness and folly. And let me get this real fast. Let's see. Let me get one more on this. O wives of the prophet, you are not like any other women. If you are mindful of Allah, then do not be overly effeminate in speech with men, or those with sickness in their hearts may be tempted, but speak in a moderate tone. Right, so, I mean, this religion is just to beat women. Right, you could tie them up in beds and lock the door. Right, you could eat pork. Right, Muhammad's a so-called white man. He got his ascension and understand them during the night journey, right? And the night and all of these different things that ascend up to heaven, right? These are just false ideologies, right? The nation of Islam was founded off an Arabian given to the Elijah Muhammad, right? Which was seduced by night and day by this man, by his own words, and built off the back, you understand, of what? Of the Arabians. Falsely hoped to be as a nationality of the lost tribe of Shabaz, which the lost tribe of Shabaz is everyone on earth. So when you going into all of these Islamic understandings and ways of life, you have to see how much it contradicts the scriptures. It should even contradict your integrity and what you believe in. Right? And I believe I got everything I wanted to pull up through the spirit. Right, but again, this is the Quran cuts. Now, if you could take a picture of this, you could dive in there on your own time and continue to do some more research and some more breakdown on it through the spirit. But I'm gonna get a couple more and close out. Let's go to the mighty book of 2nd Peter. This is the book of 2nd Peter, chapter 3, and verse number 1. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse number 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? But since the fathers fell asleep, all things continued as they were from the beginning of the creation. Right? So you have a lot of people that scoff the truth, right, because of the long forbearing of the Lord, right, or Christianity, or falseness of hope, you understand, by religious leaders. Right? All of these things, you have to know exactly who you're learning from, what you're learning, and what doctrine are you given. You have to learn for yourself. It says, for this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition for the ungodly. So the Lord is going to destroy all you false pastors, you false philosophers, and everybody that's coming up against our people. Because what essentially you're doing to our people? You're destroying them. You're snatching off the flesh off their bones, like it says in Micah, the 3rd chapter. Now, let me get this quick precept. It's Micah chapter 3, right? And I'm going to start at 3. It says, who eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them. Meaning what? They devour us. We're sheep. And you have all of these beasts of the field. They come and they take a piece off of us. Our understanding, you understand? Our heritage, who we are, our scripts, our roles, prophecy. And they break you down so you have nothing left. And make you a carcass of the valley of the dry bones. And they break their bones and chop them in pieces. As for the pot and the flesh within the cauldron, then shall they cry unto the Lord, but he will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, as they have behaved themselves ill in his doings. That's why it's time to repent and come back to the Most High, and stop trusting in falsehood and all these false religions. Right? Let me get this last closing precept. It's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 3. I'm going to start at 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. For I have not found thy works perfect before Yahweh. So strengthen up things that are dying off on you. Continue to read and pray and do the work of the Most High. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come unto thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. Right? So, I mean, that's watching in all things. Because one of the prophecies that come to pass is that men will have itchy ears in the last days. Don't have itchy ears and go back to that old man. Go back to Egyptology. Go back to Islam. Go back to everything founded on sin and sand and not founded upon a rock. Repent and come back to the Most High and watch for World War III. Right? Because this beast is gearing up for war. And everybody that's falling asleep and sleep will be destroyed right along with the wicked. It says, I'm going to read that again. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon you. Right? So continue to stay on fire for the Most High, and continue to make your body live a sacrifice. With that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach, Umalak, Yahweh Shah, Shalom.